Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local leaders who are making a difference. Today I'm with Julie Lackey. How are you doing, Julie?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Julie's the executive director of Lead, Learn, Live, and she's also the director of interior design at Matrix Architects. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, sure. I was born and raised in Tulsa and went to Oklahoma State and did the interior design thing. And I work for Matrix. Obviously, now we do a whole range of things, commercial design, and I have an amazing team of people that makes that work. And I I had a shift in passion, shall we say, probably 2012. And my husband and I have a son, and he happens to have Asperger's syndrome, which is high functioning autism in the DSM manual now. And we were looking at what was available to him after high school when he was about in eighth grade, and found that there weren't choices for him to go to college. I mean, my husband and I had gone to college. We knew the benefits of college and wanted him to have those too. We'd always talked in terms of him going to college. And that was not an option because of the supports he needed. So, very long story short, that is my dual career and my current overriding passion. And Matrix has been a blessing because they have allowed me to cut my hours and flex my schedule. My position allows me to do that because I have an amazing bunch of people I work with that allow me to do that. And so I do both. It's cool.
That's wonderful. No, and I love that you do both. So I have New Age Solutions, but I also run a men's ministry. And really, I find through some of the little things that we have to do at work that aren't always amazing, or some of the seasons that are just tougher than others, COVID, right? The things that I'm doing for my why and in the ministry world really keep me fueled in business. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it is they work together. They give each other purpose in a way. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to kind of go to that. I usually get to it later, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Kind of your why, right? And for anybody else, can you talk about your difference between just having a career path and your why for getting up and being motivated and getting work done versus how you feel now every day getting up? What are the differences, and how would you define why?
Um, okay, so um, that's a big question, Kellen. um, so my career, when you get out of school and you got the career and it's like, oh yes, and I'm all about it, and work 78-hour weeks all the time and built this business with my president of the company at that time for years and years. We were the interiors group for a lot of long time, and built largest interior design facilities management firm in Oklahoma at that time. We were in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas, and it was just awesome. And then a recession, right? And I mean, so and our role as consultants, we ebb and flow with how business is, right? And so, went through a big layoff. Well, then you grow again and you get big again and you go through another layoff. As Tulsa goes, so goes consulting, right? And that was awesome and that was fun. And then my husband and I had our child, and he was diagnosed with autism, and I found out that I didn't know I was an advocate, but you kind of grow into that. And so you start shifting away from the career world and what this is so cool, and the client world and the team world as far as business, and you use a lot of those skills to shift into advocate role, or what in my case I felt I was called to do, because faith is what drives everything about me and my husband and our life. And I just felt that, hey, if our son's having the issues with these things, he's not the only one. And our job as believers is the things that we have struggled with and then have been able to overcome. We need to share those with others to help them as well. That's just the thing. And so, that's basically what we started doing. I mean, as he was growing up and he would encounter a difficulty, we would do something to hopefully make it better for other people. I started social skills groups in schools for kids with similar disabilities in junior high and high school. I co-led a mom support group for years for moms of kids with autism. And so you use the skills, you don't know it at the time, but all of that management training and all of that team building and all of that, work as far as with clients and with my teams, that really laid the foundation to allow me to do what I do now, So yeah, the difference is it's a passion shift, but I couldn't do one without the other having laid the groundwork.
Well, that's
So
cool.
yeah.
Was the journey easy? So starting this foundation, what did that look like? Was there hurdles, and how did you
Oh my, yes. So at the time we started LeadLearnLive, was 2012 was when we started looking into this. And it came from the question. I was sitting with another mom in a therapy session, which is one of the best networking environments of the world. We were waiting for our kids, and she said, what do you think your son's going to do after high school? I said, well, he's going to go to college. And she said, yeah, you think so? I said, well, yeah. And she said, you need to look at that, because I think there are issues there you haven't looked at. And she was right. And so when I started looking at that and knowing the supports that he had needed through school to be very successful, those supports were not what was available in a college setting. And so I thought, okay, this is crazy. I have always been, and all of the folks that I've worked with will tell you, as far as anyone that knows me well, that if you tell me no, I'll say, I'm just going to check it out and we'll see if it's a real no or maybe not a no. So I did a lot of research, and at that time there were 160-ish programs in the nation, and there were 0 in Oklahoma. And so I thought, okay, that's not okay, because again, like I said, all the things that happen, I think God works for your good and for his plan. And so thinking back to helping lead the mom support group for all those years, hearing all the stories of all the moms and all the kids that are had nothing to do after high school that was a good fit for them if they wanted to go to college, hearing the stories of the moms that had kids that went to college that failed miserably, and now what do they do? All of those things helped us have that experiential process of knowing there has to be something out there, right? And so started looking at that, did a lot of research all over the nation, traveled to look at some best practice programs. Took about a year of research and getting up on that, because it takes time. It can't be instant. It's just not that way. Although we would like it very much to be that way. I'm not a patient person, which is another thing God, I think, has worked on this. But so about a year of research, travel, connecting with national folks, and started down the legislative process. Was told no, on money, and because it takes money to do these things, right? Told by a whole lot of people during the whole time we were starting this as a grassroots effort, that, well, there's just not money for that. That's not, and even if there was money, you know, that probably wouldn't happen. It's too complicated. So yes, we got a whole lot of no's, and this isn't going to work, and uh, blood, sweat, and tears over the years. And actually, all the way to 2 weeks before we signed our first MOU with Northeastern State University to begin the very first program in Oklahoma for students with intellectual or developmental disabilities, I was told it would never happen because there'd just been another round of budget cuts for the universities. They were hit hard, and the prospect of taking on another a project like this that was an unknown in Oklahoma was very, very unlikely. And that was 2 weeks before we signed the MOU. So yeah, we were told no a lot, and but I have an amazing board of very faith-based, godly women, prayer power, and I will show you this actually. So this is the favorite thing, because this is a photo of the 5 students that started in the first program in Oklahoma at Northeastern State University.
So cool.
And that's what makes it all worth it, because now there are 17 students, and it's in its 3rd year. And yeah, there are a lot of no's, but that's okay. I got a big God, you know?
Yes, ma'am. I love it too. When I love, God's done that with me too. I'm not a patient person, and I don't take no lightly. But there was so much in leadership in what you just said. When it gets hard, when you feel like you have a purpose and God gives you a vision, it gets hard. You've got to remember the vision. And I love that it wasn't just your why to get this done for your child and all the children that deserve it, but it was all the little moments that you remembered that you were emotionally moved to get something out of those people. You allowed that to fuel you. And then also recognizing in yourself that it's not taking forever to get something huge done. You're just impatient.
Right.
And so we're going to continue to pursue forward. Let's dive into something that's near and dear to my heart that you said, if that's okay. You had a board of strong leaders around you. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that want to do amazing things. And I think that we get moving in a lot of action, some of us, and we don't put the right people around us. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that goes all the way back to, you know, in my interiors and architecture world, when I hired staff. I mean, it honestly may not be the person that maybe would look the most obvious, but it's the person that you look further at who they are and what they're made of that that is the best fit. And as far as our board goes, you know, it was the same thing. I mean, I really didn't know at all. 2 of the ladies, and you know, knew in very different capacity the others, and I just prayed about it and knew that it is always best not to surround yourself with people just like you, because that's not going to give you all the input you need. And you really need to have different perspectives and different, you know, ways of looking at things. People that aren't going to be yes men, because I'm a very strong personality, as most people will tell you. and that isn't good, because my way of doing things is not the way to do things all the time. It takes a lot of people to get anything done. And I mean, this effort, and I think anything that's done well, takes a whole lot of people working to get it done. You know, it's very much a group effort. Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. Yeah. And in searching for that purpose and that moral compass in others before you partner with them.
Yeah.
In charge of something really, really important. I like how you hit it on hiring too. And so in being able to pursue and help grow a company as you have, and then to start an organization that everybody said you can't start, you won't get funding for, what's one or two of the habits that you know attributed to that success?
Um, I think that you have to know what you're talking about, because no matter what the passion is, you have to do the research and you have to dig in to know what you're talking about, and you have to surround yourselves with people that know a lot more than you do. Um, I think that just looking for that advice and looking for that feedback from folks that have walked the path before you, and seeing what you can use from that information, and then also then what you put with it from your experience and your focus. You have to put all that together, because if I had ever made the mistake of thinking I knew what I was doing in this, that's pretty funny, because I would initially, people would say, well, and so you're a teacher? No, I'm not a teacher. Oh, well, you work in special education? No, I sure don't. What do you do? Well, I'm a director of interiors for an architectural firm. And so I was trying to start a inclusive post-secondary education program at a college with intellectual, right? So that is a world that is mostly made up of PhDs and incredible people that have been in the education system all their life. That was not me, And so you have to be able to not have pride and have I can do this, I know that. You have to be able to surround yourself with amazing people that can help you, guide you, give you direction along the way. And like I said, in my case, it's my board and prayer power. No kidding. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, and your why clearly brought those amazing people alongside of you. How do you make sure, because all this revolves around really having the heart to do the thing for the right reason, that you distill your values and that why in everybody around you, organizational wise or with your not for profit?
Um, as the director side, for the interiors part, I was vice president and my boss was president, and we grew the interiors company. And you hire and you surround yourself with a bunch of amazing creative people that are almost always younger than you. At that time, right? And my thing was always, I would never ask them to do something that I was not going to do myself. So in the consulting world, we work insane hours to meet client deadlines, and that, right? And so I would never have my team work all-nighters if I wasn't there with them. That was the deal. I mean, because you have to walk the talk, right? And so I certainly, while I don't have the expertise in all the areas of post-secondary education, at least it didn't at the beginning. Now I've learned a lot, but same thing. I would never say, okay, you do this. It's always, how can we do this? I don't know anything about that, but can I help you do that? How can I do that? So, I mean, just being able to always work with, not someone you work for me, that doesn't even compute, right? Because I think you have to be a team player and look at everyone as having something to contribute all along the way, and I think working with students with intellectual developmental disabilities is the biggest teacher of all, because we don't have any idea how hard it might take them to do the things that we just do intuitively. You never underestimate what someone else is dealing with, because your capacity for handling something and their capacity for handling something could be very different. And so you have to have awareness of that, I think, to have any success in anything.
Yeah, it's got to remind you daily how blessed you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're a little more patient than you think.
Well, I've learned to be. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, let's have a little bit of fun. We were off video earlier, and we were talking about just the changes in this last season. So as it comes to now, I mean, we're getting into 2021. What are 3 things that you're consuming more of, and what are 3 things you're trying to consume less of?
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Consuming more of, I think it's more, in my case, it's actually being more intentional with my time, so it's consuming time differently, right? Because I mean, I would, it's almost like a bronco out of a chute, in the morning, I would hit the door, and I mean, I would run like crazy and eat in the car, and I was traveling all over Oklahoma all the time because of being able to get the word out about Lead Learn Live, and it's just really breakneck speed all the time. And so I think what I'm doing is actually consuming my day differently, if that makes sense. So when our son was home over the summer, because when COVID hit, he's at NSU, and they came home at spring break and didn't go back, just like everybody else, right? And so for the first time in our life, I mean, my husband was in one office, I'm in the dining room, my son was in his room, and it was like, oh my gosh, so we actually would take time and have lunch every day out on the patio. I mean, that never happened, ever. I mean, to stop and do that differently was crazy. So I think the time aspect has been the biggest thing as far as consumption of time, how I use it. And let's see. So, well, I guess that answers it really. It's more intentional on time and less crazy and harried. Yeah. Multitasking, not as much, really. Been very much more focused on one activity at a time, which has been really something very new for me.
Yeah, me as well. It's helped me be present. And so not only
exactly
the lack of multitasking, and we all want to be present mentally and physically.
Right.
But before all this happened in 2020, I was physically there and mentally in 3 places a lot.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think that's the biggest thing. And yeah, I did more baking and all that kind of stuff, just like you hear, but I think the most unique change is probably in just the use of time. One thing at a time,
So one last question, and so you've done a lot of research, obviously, for your foundation, but let's say you get a month just free to spend with family, but during that month, the only things you can do is go back to 2 books that you really pull a lot out of, that you really want to focus a lot more time on. What 2 books would those be, and why?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's really easy for me. The 2 books are, the first one is Cure for the Common Life by Max Lucado, and that's an amazing book because partially from my journey that is still going, as far as well, what do you really want to do? Yeah. I mean, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you really 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 want to do? really gets you going, and think about it. And it gives you a way to think about that, and just look in yourself. I've given that book to a lot of people, excuse me, that I thought could use, And then the second one is Holy Discontent by Bill Hybels. And that book really put a literal fire under me when I was trying to I knew that God wanted me to do something else, or something it has been in addition to what my career jam was, right? And I mean, I had started looking at all this stuff. I looked at going back to school to be a psychologist. I looked at doing this. I looked at doing that. I knew it had to be in the field of helping students like my son. I knew it had to be. I didn't know what it was, though. And so I just had a heavy, heavy burden on, you've got to be doing this thing. What is this thing? And so actually, it was in our church service. There was a video, just a segment out of Bill Hybels talking about holy discontent. And I walked out of there, and that night I went to Amazon. I bought that book, and that book was kind of put the pieces together as far as, okay, I got to focus. What is the one thing? Because it talks about what is your thing? What is the thing that you cannot say is okay? What is the thing that it just incenses you that there has to be a fix for this, And in our case, it was, okay, this is crazy that he can't go to college and get the supports he needs to learn how to be an independent young adult. That's crazy. I mean, that's what you and I did. That's what people that want to go, it doesn't have to be everybody, but for the kids that want to go to college, there has to be a way in Oklahoma that we don't have to ship him out of state because we can't afford that, right? There has to be a way to do that. And so that's what that book is about. And I highly recommend it to anyone who is sort of feeling like something, because that really, it put a fire under me. And I go back to it and I reread it, because it is so good about what can you not let stand? What do you have to do something about? Because the point is that is probably something that God is wanting someone to join him in his work and get it done also.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
So Julie, as we exit, I normally don't ask this, but I do want everybody to know if they want to learn more about Lead, Learn, Live, and then if they want to reach out to you, where do they go for both of those?
Oh, absolutely. So go to our website, which is www.leadlearnlive.org. And there's a registration site on there that takes you to my email. And there's all of our information on there that talks about us. It talks about the program. We're raising funding now for OSU, which is our second program that we're wanting to start. And just talks about our mission, the things that we do, our focus on getting our state agencies to work together as well to support these students in these post-secondary education programs. So yeah, I would love it.
And what about for yourself? Do you have an email, or what's your preferred way of communication?
Oh, yes. So email is jlackey.leadlearnlive@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well,
and
everyone,
yeah, I would. Thank you so much, Kellen. This has been really fun. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. And everybody, thank you. Kellen with New Wave Solutions, one of the partners here. And Julie, it was great. We just honestly, thank you for your time. Thanks for giving.
Absolutely. Take care.